All right, y'all, we're going straight into today's call with Cathleenna Hailley, restoring the original soul fragmentation and releasing the imprint of shame. Now, I'd say that's the foundation, but why do we carry it so much? And what is it that's guiding us to finally dissolve all of that? Because we all know that there's something else available. We all know that we're stepping forward in new ways, even though we may not fully embody it. That's just that inner calling, that divinity within that knows something more is possible. And Cathleenna, we're having a pre-call conversation, and what she's bringing in through embodiment and through practice and what that's doing to invigorate her vitality, her creation, and her peace simultaneously is extraordinary. So we're going to get into that and so much more on today's call. We're going to talk about 0 points, soul fragmentation, how we connect more to our body, but connect even more deeply and confidently to our divinity. So again, y'all hang out for this amazing conversation. We'll most likely take Q&A. There's an incredible special offer that we'll dive into. So it's going to be a rich call today. And with that, Cathleenna, welcome back to BTO.
Yeah, thank you, John. Always a pleasure to be here. Excited to see what we're going to co-create, see what happens,
Yeah, me
what kind of
too.
magic we make.
Okay, we've talked about soul fragmentation before.
Mhm.
What makes this conversation different today, restoring the original soul fragmentation?
Well, I think for me, because as I was speaking to you a little bit, prior to the call, that I have been able to fully embody at the level of the oversoul, which is really restoring all of the soul fragmentations and coming into that awareness. And so, with that, I'm in full recognition that, and I figure your audience is pretty savvy and knowledgeable in terms of like the false matrix and those types of energies. So I'm in full recognition that the false matrix has no more architecture that it can cling to, so to speak. It's like the architecture of the false matrix is held by us fragmenting ourselves, by us not remembering who we are. And so through that, it's like our fragmentation is sort of the scaffolding is holding together this false matrix, which is the inversion of everything, right? So as we re-embody who we are, and that's really what it is, like what is a fragmentation? Like what is happening? And that's when we forget, who we really are. And we forget that we are not that we've been told. We are not the characters, right, of this life. We become something instead of, having an experience of this life and letting that show us who we are as this magnificent uh, essence of source consciousness, right? So, when we fragment ourselves, we literally imprint those fragmentations like outside of ourselves all over the place and think about them as like little magnets that are drawing us towards whatever we fragmented and how we fragmented and the example I like to give that's a pretty simplistic one is if I'm a little girl and I'm playing in the dirt and somebody comes along and says, a girl doesn't do that, then what happens is I might stop and I freeze up. And so then a part of me fragments. And so what fragments might be freedom. So an aspect of myself, freedom fragments off and now imprints where freedom was for rigidity, because now I feel like I have to be rigid in order for my illusion of freedom, because, that's what happened. And so, how that plays out in my life later is say I go to look for a career. Well, most likely I'm going to pick something that's practical and not something on my heart because I fragmented the idea of freedom with rigidity or specific until I bring that back. And so that's what we do. And how do we do that? We restore that by starting to feel like, wait a minute, is this really free? So I can do this, but do I like it? Is it enjoyable? Do I feel free? And the freedom is internal. I mean, this is the key, I talk about a lot. It's the body, right? So the fragmentation happens through this vehicle because this is the mechanism of our experience as energy and frequencies to the body. So, that energy and that idea of freedom, like we think it's external. A lot of people think it's external, like when I have this, when I have that, I'll be free, I'll be free. But freedom is a feeling. It's a way of being. We are free. We just don't recognize it. So if I don't feel it, why don't I feel it? And the thing is, I can feel it in the privacy of my own home, in my own space, in my own self. And the irony is, and the truth in the inversion is, once I feel it as authentic, then things will naturally come into my reality that align with that, right? But we
Mm.
haven't been taught that. We've been taught, forget whatever happens here. I got to go out there and find it, and then I feel it. But then I'm feeling the illusion of it. It's not really what freedom is. It's this illusion. That's why it's elusive. You can't grab it. You know what I mean? It's constantly. And so this is why fragmentation is so important, because it's bringing back who I am. It starts to tell me the real story, that I am sovereign, I am free. When we talk about sovereignty, I used to define sovereignty as self-governed internally, but the truth is it's beyond that. It's non-governance. So true sovereignty is when I'm just me. There's no need for governance in any kind of way, right? I'm just me. And so that's how I feel right now, is completely sovereign, which is very present. That's what it is. You're just present without being encumbered by a story, somebody else's story, right? How I have to be, or what I've got to strive for, what I've got to go for, how my life is meant to be from some external thing. And with that is this illusion that another human is the one that is responsible to bringing me something or doing. No, none of that. It's me and source,
Mm.
that is the creator of my own reality. And so when we bring these soul fragments home and we release all of those imprinting, then we recognize that. Then we're suddenly very present and we're like, wow, okay, now who am I? What do I want to do? What do I want to be? And you begin to actually have the truth. This is also the other beauty that's going on right now, is we have access to the real truth. We didn't for a long time. We had all kinds of energetic things in
We
the
had
way.
fragments. We had
Fragment.
fragments of the truth. Yes.
Exactly. Well, and the fragments were very fragmented in the sense
Yeah.
of it
Yeah.
overlapping and confusing. And that's a big piece about what fragmentation does too, is it causes people to continue to flip, like, what is truth? What is truth? But when you bring home your own soul fragments, because the minute you disengage, like that idea of freedom that I was showing, you begin to feel what freedom is in yourself. And you say, wait a minute, why did I stop myself just because somebody said a girl doesn't do that? Who are you to tell me what a girl does? I'm a girl and I do it. Okay. We begin to say, what am I doing?
Mm.
Why am I letting another human dictate to me? Almost like you're not the boss of me, kind of, not in a fighting way, but a recognizing, like, wait,
Mhm.
what am I doing? And so it's everything, really. Soul fragmentation is everything. So that's why it's
It's
super important.
coming back home to the source of ourselves and the essence, and that reconnects us. That actually gives us a structural energetic integrity to
Mhm.
connect with different levels of the technology and the intelligence of the soul that takes us back into even the oversoul, and
Yeah.
having access to direct experience and creation in human body from that form.
Yes, and it actually, has us recognize we are the source. So it's not even just recognizing source. It's that I am the source of my reality,
I am.
100%. And the magic is the source of my reality is right here. It's in my thoughts, it's in my emotions, it's me right here. Because that's how energy works. Whatever this is vibrating as is sending out that message and coming back. And that's when we start to unfragment ourselves, because it's through the fragmentation that we get lost in the mind. We get lost in the world out here trying to figure things out and, like, how I'm supposed to do, blah, blah, blah. But once we restore that, we start to come in and we come into this idea of wholeness and we're actually present. That's when we start to realize, wait a minute, I'm the source of my entire reality by my choices, by what I feel. That's how. the magic of life and how life works. So
So with soul fragmentation, there's shamanic work and bringing back soul aspects one piece at a time from other realms. There's deep forgiveness work and overcoming limiting beliefs, and again, getting on a vibrational frequency to match a higher standard that we can hold. But those seem like they're super time consuming in different ways, and of course, it's always a journey. But what are ways that you found that are, I'll call it efficient, at
yeah,
restoring the soul fragmentation?
yeah. Well, it's really breaks it down to the simplistic.
Mm,
So it's a willingness to feel and to get honest. So some practical things that I do is I have a mask and I have one here, like this type, sorry, like this type of mask that I get, and it's, thick so you can close it, and it blocks out the light. So what I do is in early morning hours, like even early morning, like 3 or 4 in the morning, but certainly just at the time when the sun is getting ready to rise. So it's a very good frequency at that time. You can, in your bed, in the privacy of your space, you lay there and I put the mask on. And then I allow myself, first I check in my body and I start to feel like, okay, where am I feeling tension? What am I feeling? And as you just relax and let go, stories do come in and they'll begin to come in. And you can go very deep if you allow it and start to say, okay, what am I doing? And the idea is becoming the observer of yourself. And as the observer, you are your multidimensional self. You are your oversoul observing this avatar person, this body that you become. And so you start to lay there. And the first is more of a physical level, like, okay, what's going on with my body? And as you go deeper, if you stay with it, and you don't disregard it, you don't tell your mind, oh, this isn't true. You just let it ride. I mean, everything starts to happen. You'd be surprised how quickly you can move through timelines and lineage and all sorts of things, and things begin to happen. Your breath will start to engage. You'll start to feel different things. And everybody has this. Everybody has light language. Everybody has soul fragmentation information. Everybody has this because we're all source consciousness. So it really, the key is let go of the dialogue that's
mm,
saying, this isn't real, this isn't, and just let it ride. The more you let it ride and the deeper you go, it's very quick. You'd be very surprised how fast you can move through lots of integration and lots of different things. And it's through your breath, particularly now because the veils have lifted, the energetics are here, the true consciousness is here, the truth is here now. So it's, and I know this through my own soul lineage, and so this is an opportunity, particularly now, more so than ever. So I highly recommend that practice, and you'll see, particularly after being
mm.
in this particular container that we're in,
That's
anybody who's
that's
going to do that,
beautiful.
they're going to see it.
That's beautiful, Cathleenna.
Yeah.
I'm curious what your experience is with when there's that reintegration of disassociated parts of ourselves in a particular way. There can be sometimes an assimilation that needs to take place of our physical body catching up to new energies.
Hmm.
There's maybe even emotional components that come up as letting something go or old worlds behind, or, when we jump timelines, it's like, what do we do with the past? And I'll call it a reconciliation that's taken place as we activate that new potential that we're walking in.
Hmm.
Uh, what's your experience with some of those, I'll call them symptoms and progressions that we've gone through when we've done soul recovery work in the past?
Yeah. Well, how I would identify that is that, when we do any type of what you're kind of referring to in soul recovery, or I think of it as like entering into the quantum field, because that's
Mhm.
what we're doing. Even describing with the mass is what we're doing. So what happens in the quantum field is that, the quantum field is moving faster than the speed of light. And it's everything moving super, super fast. And the only reason that we actually have a physicality or the illusion of physicality is time. So time's actually on your side. It's your friend because it slows things down enough for us to have a physicality. Well, when we go into whether we were talking like plant medicine or anything that we're doing that we do that, what happens is you're jumping into the quantum field, you're moving and doing all sorts of things, but then you have to bring it through the dimensional fields in your physical body back down through that in order to have it be a part of your own reality. And that's the idea of integrating it through the physical experience. And I had that with myself, and so my personal experience with that is that you feel your body is intent, tense, you go through different things, but it's about riding the wave and knowing that you're okay. And this is when I think it's really important to stay present. This is why I talk about present moment a lot. The more that we can actually be in the present moment, letting ourselves, like when we do this type of thing, if you do this with the mask, you want to remind yourself, I'm in my room, I'm safe, I'm okay. Because things get interesting, like, whoa, lots of different things. Because if you've shifted lots in the quantum field, you might not know everything you went through. And like I went through massive amounts of timelines and things like this. And a lot of times that's what happens, and we don't know that. So when you're in your physical, it can be maddening. And this is why everything that I do, that's why this soul fragmentation course, this is what this is about. This course is about connecting to the earth. And this is super important because I feel like you've got to have that rich connection to the earth so that you can clear these, because otherwise it's very maddening, right? And so yeah, it's bringing it through that field, but being able to just keep letting yourself breathe and realize, wait, I'm okay. I'm right here in my bed or where I am, but I'm going to let this ride. I'm going to let this go. And as you do, it just, it moves out of your body. It moves because it's already been done in the quantum field. So it's already done.
Mhm.
Now the body needs to let it out, and that's really what happens. And often that's what people don't do, and they do. I see this a lot where people do all sorts of things to integrate, right? Particularly plant medicine, there's a big thing on that. They do all that, but they don't integrate it later. Okay, they
Mhm.
go in and they
Right.
constantly go in and they fragment more by doing that. Okay, then you've got all kinds of fragmented, and I work with a lot of people like that. So I see those sorts of things. And that's why, again, like this course is really important, and this one being shame, because those types of things start to show up immensely within a person's energy field. Like it's a big part of the energy field. So I always say integrate. Integration is the most important part. We can fly into the quantum field and we do all sorts of stuff, but if you don't integrate it back into your physical life, you're not going to elevate to the degree you want. And these are people that are constantly like, I'm doing, I can't get it, I don't know. And they're reaching, 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 but they don't understand what they're holding. They're literally holding this with their.
Well, those are the fragments looking for something like they were looking for something before, just in a different level because they have
Yes.
a newer understanding that's more in alignment with the truth, but it's still a fragmented truth because they're not coming back to themselves. So the fragment ripples out in different realities and the experience until we really learn how to anchor them in and have the energetic cohesion so they can come into oneness, which is so important.
Well, and imagine it like the way that I see it is like if you're doing something that is restoring these fragments, right? And it's particularly in the quantum field. Now there's different layers and levels. If you're doing it through like this course, it's softer. So it'll
Mhm.
move the energetics, but you're much more present and it's a cleaner, softer field. But if somebody's going to jump into the quantum field like through some type of help, whatever they're doing, and they come back, they have to imagine that what happens is that in the quantum field, you become this element of somewhat whole. So there's this energetics. It is you. Okay, it's still you. But now you've got this layer. So imagine it kind of like dirt, that's this layer of dirt upon you, but you're familiar with that because it feels soothing. It feels comfortable. It's a weight on you, but it's a weight on you. So, if you're willing to break that up and let that go, you will naturally be integrating with whatever it is. So it's not like I gotta call them home necessarily if you've done something like that because they're already there, but it's allowing that integration to take place. And why? What is that? That means I have to allow for change. I have
Mhm.
to, people call in change, but they want it the way they want it. And they don't understand, you know, that it's going to move in the highest and best for you. And maybe the
Right.
highest and best is you're going to change your career or you're going to be something different. And it's everything you've asked for. But people are like, no, I don't want," and so that's,
Mm.
That's also a big part of it. It's like, that willingness to say, okay, I've been a character in this world, and so maybe I've drawn in things as my character. Well, maybe those aren't the things that are aligned to me as my authentic self. And so I'm going to
Right.
take a breath. I'm going to trust if they are, they're going to be a part of me. And it's okay because it's not punishment to change.
Right.
But people we feel that though. That's very common. That's why it's so difficult to bring in the soul fragments for people because it's like, oh no, wait, okay, I want it this way, not that way. But maybe,
Well, the part of ourself that doesn't know needs to lean into the part of the self that does, and that part of the self that does is typically living in a different quantum reality because it's witnessing us in the spiral of a denser performance based on the reality that we're creating in the present moment.
yeah, exactly. And but so you're really talking about like the ego, right? And so the ego is the one that feels they're protecting us and all, and I get it, but the more we can just relax that part of self and say, okay, I'm not dissolving you. I love you. Thank you. You've helped me along the way. And, this is that deep dive in self-love, but let's just chill out here. Let's just feel, let's just take a baby step in here and see what this is like, and just keep doing that with this physical body. That's how we calm down that nervous system. We relax into that. That's when those soul fragments can integrate. We start to go, oh, okay, wait.
Mm.
That's what that feels like. Okay, let me chill. And depending on the level of trauma that a person has, they need to, really treat the body with that love and that respect of that level. Like, ooh, okay, I'm not gonna just like if you had an animal, right, with this trauma, you're not gonna rush in. You're gonna relax. You're gonna open your field. You're gonna sit. You want to do that with yourself too. And people don't do that. They jump in. They push. They like, no, I'm gonna push through it. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna need to do. And they don't understand.
I'm either going to push through or I'm going to give up.
Yeah.
Um, and there's energies and emotions that run through that really hinder us in a big way. And one that you were bringing up on the topic today,
Mm.
so important to discuss is the frequency of shame.
Hmm.
Talk
Yeah.
more about that.
Shame is such a big part of what we're carrying. I think we're carrying a lot of that because of our levels of participation in
Mm,
this whole game, and we're waking up to all that now. And even in our own lives, like we have this shamefulness of, we could call it embarrassment that really shows up in that same frequency of shame of like, oh my gosh, I'm embarrassed to admit that I'm this age or I'm this and I haven't done that. And oh my gosh, and because we're comparing and we're doing that. So it's just levels and layers of the shame that we're carrying that's very deep inside ourselves. And
mhm,
it's very much tied to, yeah, like performance and embarrassment and ways that we don't want to be honest and we don't want to. So the more that we can bring those fragments back in and let go of that energy, the greater we can just start to expand into who we really are, because it is a big frequency. It encompasses a lot of other elements. Like I said, the element of embarrassment or hiding is all in shame. It's all in there.
mhm.
Even levels of stoicness is hidden in the shame, because it's that we become that. We're like, no, I can't show that, so I'm gonna show up stoic. I'm gonna push. That's that idea of I'm gonna push through because I'm carrying these levels of shamefulness that I can't even look at, that I won't even see, that's parts of myself. It's tied to so many ways in which people are in their own selves not able to step up in a sense of calm movement, comfortable movement. It's one of the driving forces that pushes people into I gotta make, I gotta go, because I can't feel that. And they don't even
Yeah.
recognize the levels and layers of where this is playing out.
It's deep. It affects us so much physically, emotionally, energetically. And for me, shame also, it
Hmm.
carries that component of where we're constantly warring with ourselves. We're constantly at
Yes,
war with
yes,
ourselves.
yes. Which is the
Wonder why we see these things in the world.
Yeah, yeah, it's the game, right? And that constant battle story exactly of like, And so when we can love him or her enough and say, wait, 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 There's no shame in participation because that's the name of the game. We're
Mm.
meant to participate. We're meant to have experiences. And, we could only have the experiences of what we could have at the time we've had them through the knowledge we have and who we are and whatever. So it's like letting yourself off the hook kind of and really that deep dive in that self-love. And the more we do that, then the less and less that shame
But
is part
Cathleenna,
of
we
our.
keep saying let ourselves off the hook and to let it go and to love ourselves. And we've been speaking, that profound truth, but kindergarten level of education for all our life.
Mhm.
How do we get past the very basics of understanding that? I already know the answer, but still, well, in different ways. But how do we get the point of still cycling? I'm holding it. I want to let go of it, but I don't know how to let go of it into actually transmuting it.
Well, when we are no longer needy, when we are, and that's that sense of sovereignty, right? That's that sense of presence. When we no longer need to be validated, to be seen, to be known, any of that. I mean,
This is
that's.
so cool though, Kathleen, because this goes in alignment. As soul integration happens, as we bring the fragmentation in, we have more of an action taking ability where shame can have its grips in us in the same way because we're more back to the center of who we really are. So it's like a function of them happening almost
Well,
instantaneously. They support one another in the leveling up.
yes, as we're recognizing who we've been, not really who we are. That's
Mhm.
the difference, right? So yes, as so there's like this, we've been this avatar, this, puppet, basically energetics, we become something and we're unwinding, oh my gosh, who have I become, who have I become? And so we're bringing in soul fragments and we're recognizing, and the beginning of that is all of the things that I've been feeling. Oh my gosh, what have I been feeling? What have I been doing? What have I been doing? And so there's this whole aspect of that, and then it comes into this kind of wholeness of that, like, wait a minute, okay, where did this all begin? And so you really come into this place of just like, all right, wait, okay, so what was the beginning for me? And so there does come a point where we start to come into that beginning place of like, wait a minute, I began with feeling that I needed to do something. I needed to be something in order to survive, to be whole, to be. And so once we start to say that to ourselves and we start to really integrate that, like, wait a minute, I needed something. Well, what am I really needing? What am I asking for? And when you can get to that place and you begin to really ask yourself, what is it that I'm really asking for? And I know from myself, it was like, I just wanted a sense of peace. I wanted to, even if I had 1 second, 1 nanosecond on this earth, I wanted to be free and to feel present,
Mm.
just let go of everything. And so that was my integration. That's what I did to get to where I am, is I just kept saying, and so in that, like, my big thing that I would do, and this is another thing that I said all the time, is that I said I let go of everything, everything, everything. And my first was help me get out of my own way. That was my first. And then, but then it's like of everything, including money. Like when I heard money, I was like, whoa. But then I understood what it meant. It was like let go of anywhere that I'm holding it, that I'm in, And there's
Mm.
been even layers and levels of that. But when you can, because it's an illusion, okay? It doesn't mean, I'm not saying take away and make my life a pulp or anything. No, I'm saying I'm energetically holding it, and that's stopping it. Okay, that's what you begin to realize. And this is why I keep saying that the body's everything. So when we can be here and just actually relaxed, that's the goal. That's the goal is authentic letting go in that present moment.
Mm.
And that's when and then once you felt it once, you practice it. Okay. And you keep integrating that. You keep bringing yourself back to that no matter what. You notice and you keep
Mm.
noticing wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Wait, let me take a breath. Let me drop in. Let me be present. Let me be present. Let me be present. That's when you'll start to see that integration starting to happen because those energies that now I'm actually attracting the authentic me. I'm actually beginning to do that. And now, like I said, it will go faster. There has been a time in the very recent past, even though it's not past, everything's present, but that, things were much slower because the veils were there and the energies were not available. But now things have changed. The
Mhm.
veils have lifted and the energies are very present and the false matrix doesn't have the structure the same. So what that means is that before it was like you could let go, but if you didn't fully let go, there's a structure that's out there pushing and wanting you to hold on to, and you could just glue right to it again. Now that structure isn't there. They're
Mhm.
still trying to pump energy, but the structure's not there. So that means that when you let go, it actually doesn't have anything to hold on to. But this
Mhm.
is a different level of feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's a new level, right? Because now it's like, oh, I felt familiar there. Now what am I feeling?
There's nothing to hold on to.
Exactly. There's nothing, but in that nothing to hold on to is not it because what we were holding on to was the thing limiting us, right?
Right.
And so, yes, it's an interesting thing. So this is the stance. And so people like you and I, this is what we're here for, to talk about it, to integrate it, to have these types of courses to do. That's what these help. They help to stabilize, basically stabilize ourselves, the physical body in that 0 point, which is the no thing in all possibilities. So the stabilization is not a lack of mo movement, it's
Mhm.
a flow. It's
Well,
allowing it to flow.
and this is really great because this brings us, and I want to get into Q&A in a second. We've got to get to the special offer also. What does 0 point have to do with this particular stage in that transition?
It has everything to do with it because the 0 point is the place of no thing and all possibilities. It's the present moment that we have not been guided to be in at all. And when we are as the 0 points, the authentic present moment, I talked about it before, like you got your feet on the floor, you're looking out your eyes, you're literally in your room versus I got my feet on the floor, I'm looking out my eyes and I'm in my head.
Mhm.
Okay, that's the difference, right? But when I'm literally in that physical present moment, I'm right here and I'm right here, looking at my eyes right in that present moment, I'm literally one with everything. I am my multidimensional self. I am vibrating at the highest frequency there is. And so I'm magnetizing. And so as I'm able to be in that and continue to expand myself within that neutrality field, I'm getting to know me. In that field,
Mhm.
I can feel who I am. And this has been my journey as I get to know who I am. And then I can express myself as I'm meant to be, as who I am, and without being bumped around by what we consider the outside world.
The fragmentation of ourselves, the outside world, which
Mhm.
and I really believe that at this time when we're getting to those stages of reintegration in that way, that we're really being called to hold that within us. So with so much attention, so much presence, and to keep focusing on what it is that we're magnetizing through that 0 point field. We say we're creating it, but we're doing is we're creating a harmonic field that is taking us to another place of new creation, of new reality.
Yes, and I would kind of articulate it in this way that say that we are representing and we are because we are the 0 point. Really, that's our energetic field. So when we are able as in a human form to stabilize that, to become that fully, now we are the radiation of that. So we are now the stabilization of that field for humanity to experience and to move as and with and, create, you know,
Absolutely.
together, and that's what happens within ourselves, and so that's really so it's not so much like holding is, I mean, I understand the terminology, but I think people are going to hear that in a kind of holding way. It's actually the opposite. It is the deepest surrender and letting
Absolutely.
go, right?
But we're
In that
experiencing
present.
ourselves as that field.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
and I can say from my experience that what that feels like is it's so funny, I mean, I mentioned to you that I have fully awakened and I say what's the difference between, being almost fully awakened and fully awake, and it's a level of compassion, and
Mhm.
that level of compassion that I couldn't reach prior, and what that is that's the 0 point. That's the place that you feel just so present that you can have compassion for yourself and others in a very, very unique, different way.
Mm.
And it's magical. So,
There's so much that you're sharing here. You're bringing in so much. Again, the special offer, y'all, is just, it's all about this. And
yeah,
that expansionary energy, that's the atomic that we're experiencing within ourselves, which is amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna get into Q&A now. If you guys want to ask questions, raise your hand. There's already a lot of questions in the chat box that I want to get into. And Kathleen, I want to take a question first from Karen, who came on. So Karen, welcome to the call.
Sure.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Hello, of course.
Hi.
I love energy stuff. I'm a yoga teacher, so I get, and I've read a million times, everything we need is in this body. But the whole surrender piece, I resonated with what you were saying earlier about, you got to push, you got to strive. And so taking the time to take that time and look inward, but it just, I don't know what piece, how can you fully surrender? How can that completely just bring you to that 0 point?
Well, surrender is surrender. So it's not a task. It's an actual being, right? So it's a place where we say, so for you, I'd say, what's keeping me from surrendering? It's a dialoguing through the mind. So we're really talking about mastering the mind because that's really where the inversion is. It's all through the mind because the mind tells a story. So, through the inversion, we've been letting the mind talk to the heart instead of the heart talk to the mind because the
Yes.
heart knows the truth. So we want to invert that. We want to have the heart communicating to the mind. And so you want to be able to love your thoughts. I love every one of my thoughts, no matter what they are. And so what you're doing is you're sending your soul, your heart, yourself to your thoughts. So your thoughts are like, ah, da, 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 and you're like, I love you. I love every thought. And so we don't try to change them. We don't try to fix them. We just begin to recognize them. And then we start to talk to them. We start to teach our mind who we are because our mind has absorbed the information, then we become that. So now we change that, right? So we begin to talk to our mind and we begin to teach our mind to say, no, 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 I'm not interested in that thought. No, no, that's not helping me because I don't feel good when you have that thought. So now let's just let that go over here and I'm going to be here. And so that's that deeper level of surrender. The more that we start to communicate, we use our breath and we drop in. So that's what you just start to notice because the mind can take on its own story. That's the ego, right? And so this is where we want to do. And so it's just it's a practice of noticing like, wow, my mind is taking over. Let me talk to her. I love you. It's okay. I love every one of my thoughts. Try that too. Especially when you're in a place feeling stressful and you can stop for a moment and say, no, I love you. It's all right. Nope, I love you. You'll see it shift instantly because it's
Mhm.
really that's the game. The game is to torture yourself, right? So we've been programmed to play out basically three major frequencies: enslavement, imprisonment, and sacrifice.
Okay.
So we enslave ourselves within our belief systems, we imprison ourselves within the mind, and then we sacrifice health for money and all sorts of things until we don't. And so that's what we're unwinding in this story is like that little game. Like, wait a minute, I'm in the privacy of my own home, I'm torturing myself. How is this helpful? And this is this game that we've been taught to do. So now we're going to shift that, right?
It's
Your
beautiful.
package sounds wonderful. I think I need to check that out. It's going to also help me in my journey. Much appreciated.
Yeah, beautiful.
That's wonderful. Kathleen, as you were speaking about that, the image that I kept getting is that the mind is like this ball of yarn, and that whenever we have those thoughts that feel like we're hitting a snag, that we
Mhm.
can go up into our hearts and just lovingly just
Exactly.
disentangle
Exactly.
it, and just go back down, and just the visual is so helpful because then we're not trying to play with the ethers when we can't have context for it because we don't know necessarily what the snag is. But when we feel the snag, that's all we have to do. It's like, oh, I hit a snag. Let me go up and disentangle it and let it loose. And it becomes actually a very loving and simple practice that we get to go to over and over again because you've got new things that you want to weave and create with. So
Yeah.
it's quite beautiful. So I
Yeah.
love the description, Cathleenna. Thank you. And
Yeah.
Karen, blessings to you.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Thank you.
coming on.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue. Casey, welcome to the call. Is it Casey? Casey? Casey?
Hey,
Hi,
Missy. Hi.
Casey. Hi, Cathleenna and
Hi.
John. When I'm listening about the fragmentation, what I'm really curious to touch on what is whether this has something to do with DNA, as DNA is information. When you gave the example of the girl. That girl no longer believes she can do some this way. Did she just turn off information in her DNA that now changes something, a structure or part of her? And then when we bring back what we recognized as defragmenting, are we now turning back on a quality of ourselves within our DNA? Does that make sense?
Yes. Well, the DNA is a neurotransmitter, so it's a communication system for sure. But it isn't exactly in that way. So yes, there are when the soul fragments, some aspects are fragmenting because there are parts of our DNA that are already shut off. That's kind of the idea. As we integrate our oversoul, which is really who we are in a much greater way. So we have soul fragmentation, which is basically our human journey or whatever journey we've had in any type of form, not knowing that we are really this magnificent energy source called source, right? This energy. So in that fragmentation, that is more related to the experience that we're having. And then the DNA, though, in order for, in our human level, part of our DNA was already shut off. It had been shut off eons of time ago from other beings that shut off. When we integrate our oversoul, then is when parts of the DNA actually come on. So they're kind of two things. So one is to bring the soul fragments first, integrate that, because what that's doing is that in essence is telling us I'm now whole. Once I'm now in this place of whole, now I can integrate more of my wholeness, which then awakens the levels of DNA that starts to wake up, like, from third to fourth to fifth up to 12 strand DNA. Does that make sense?
Um, in a sense, because the way that I see it, and is the soul ever really not whole?
No, the
Um,
soul itself is always whole. It's
Mhm.
always whole. But what we're talking about in terms of the fragmentation, this level of fragmentation is your participation. That's what we're integrating. That's the idea of shame and all that. That's integration. So that those are levels of participation. That's different from communicating with your DNA. You asked about DNA. So they're two different things. That's what I'm saying. But the physical body itself in our DNA does have the capacity for 12-strand DNA and beyond. But that's your oversoul coming in. So the first step is to integrate the soul fragments that have told you that you're not necessarily source consciousness, that dropping into that 0 point. That's the first step. Then it's bringing in more of your soul, of who you are. That's when the DNA starts to expand. That makes sense?
yes, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Casey, we had a lot of explanation and answers here to your very specific question. I'm curious because I want to go deeper into it. How is this helping you in the understanding of what you're hoping to receive?
I have been working on connecting with my God self. connecting with my own higher self, connecting with my own divinity, as opposed to looking outside of me. And so different people use different terms and such. And so when I say, for me, I don't think the soul is ever not whole. And
Mhm.
so, um, in the way that I'm hearing it, how does that make sense within me?
Right. And I think you do have to go. I don't think I know that we have to go to our individual experiences and our interpretation of different words and vernacular that's used that's describing things that confirm to us or help us build on something that we know that we're being called to through our own intimate experience of divinity. And we all have individuated, intimate, direct experiences of the divine in that way. And so we can't hang on to Cathleena's words or John's words or Rupert Sheldrake's words or anything as the gospel of all of it. But there are those teachings that come in a very refined way that I'll call them some of the Christic teachings that have this path to really lead you to that direct experience that you're looking for. But again, I'm speaking in different angles here because what we're all looking, what really initiates that spark of that remembrance and the integration is the direct experience. And so what are those things that are taking us back to have that direct experience? We don't work towards it, we seek it, we have experiences and we learn and we grow from it, and activations happen to allow for a greater experience of that light. Um,
think
Go ahead, Kathleen. I know you're like
I,
dying to say something there.
Yeah, I was just going to say something that might be helpful. I've shared before that the way that I experience like the soul, if you will, is like source is like a giant library of information. And you are a smaller library of the giant library, and so am I, but you're unique. So that's your soul is a library of information. So think about a fragmentation is maybe one of your books is checked out over here, but you don't know that. You haven't figured that out yet because you're in a human suit. And so you're going to bring that back and go, oh, wait, that's also me. That's also me. And that's what's happening. That's what it is like, oh, that's really me. And that's me. And that's me. And that's me. And so once we have all of that me, and I'm like, oh, that's me. Now I can go, oh, wow. And I'm that. And that's what it is. So it's like bringing in all that. Once I have my little library, then I'm like, oh, now I'm reading my books, but I got to get all my books first and then I get to read them. And so reading them is the oversoul, like, wow. And then you go, bigger, 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 bigger.
Mhm.
Okay, but we didn't know that my book's over there because I didn't know that's how the game is played, right? So maybe that's a little bit visual that you can have because that's really kind of what's happening. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what also comes as a visual, and you've probably seen it's the GDV image of an outline of a man. He's got these colors emanating from him. And so that's the whole print. But then you've got the fractured man where there's a tear in the system. There's soul loss, basically, or fracture that comes in, and that light isn't as luminous. There's like big spots of white coming in where there used to be color. And that's a great depiction of that fragmentation that takes place that occurs in the human body when we're fragmented because of trauma, stress, limiting beliefs, environmental factors, enculturation. And so again, coming back to our awareness of who we truly are and the aspect that it's really important. Um, but there's a lot to unpack in your field, Casey. I'm like, how do we talk to Casey in different ways?
Well,
Um,
and I think the last thing that I want to say that's coming in is we have this idea of language, right? So we have this idea of what we think fragmented means like a separation. There's never a separation because it's a quantum field. So that's the illusion, okay, that we're fragmented in the sense of what
that's a
we
great
have a
point.
human definition of. It's not like that. It's an illusion. And that's the point, is that it's just moved over there. But I'm not
Mhm.
fragmented in the bigger sense of myself because that's not possible. Okay, I'm source consciousness. So I think that's where your brain is like trying to figure that out. Like, oh, Yeah, no, it's the illusion. Like I splintered myself, I just blew myself out like this, and I don't realize I've got parts of me over here and parts over here. But it's all still me, and I'm just bringing it back here to go, oh, that's who I am. You see,
Mhm.
that's all that's happening. Okay.
That's a great way of describing it, Cathleenna. Thank you.
Yeah.
Casey, thank you so much. Blessings on your journey.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Self-discovery,
Thank you.
amazing.
I'm sure everybody would be benefited for this conversation. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot that's coming through on this
yeah.
that wants to be said in a short amount of time. Uh,
Yeah.
and there's more to say, so we'll get to that. Y'all, there's more Q&A that's coming up, and I want to get into the special offer of Cathleenna because this big topic um, that's coming through is how beneficial for us to be able to reclaim and grow and be facilitated through these experiences of coming back into wholeness. Uh,
Yeah.
so y'all click on the special offer link. It's in the chat box. It's also right in the video where you're watching the call from. And Kathleen, if you would guide us through what everybody's going to receive when they participate.
Yeah, well, it's a 9-week course that's pre-recorded, and it's restoring the original soul fragment and releasing the imprint of shame through the brain and body. Of course, through the brain and body, because the body is the facilitator of the energetics. And so, the everything that I do is in the 0 point. So no matter when you listen, it's in the present moment. Each time you listen, it's in the present moment. So you can listen to it more than once. It's readily available. You'll be able to have the audios right away. They're actually videos as well, so you'll be able to have those right away and step into the course. And people usually ask, like, how often do I do them or how do I do them? Usually suggest use your intuition, but for most people, I'd say do one a week and repeat it during that week and then continue on to the next one. But these are very profound, and they're living codexes, basically energetics. So I feel that everyone would benefit. There isn't one person that wouldn't benefit from the energetics that are here and how they move. So,
What will people experience through this journey?
well, the way that I am creating them, or the way that I've done them, is through light language and different energetics and mudras. So because of that, I'm working on many multidimensional layers and levels. So I think the experiences can be very varied. A lot of people they can feel physical things that are happening. They have energetics. They get, memories, things that'll come through their mind. Their dream space gets very intense, or shifts and changes, things like that. Lots of different changes than shifting in all that I do happens very rapidly. So it's a very multidimensional layered shifting that's happening. If you have chronic things in the body, very commonly they'll leave depending on what it is, depending on how it's shifting, because we don't realize how shame, particularly in this case, is been playing out for physical ailments. And many of the courses that I do, that's the type of things that people talk about and experience, is that they have lots of shifts in their physical experience, their physical bodies changing, and their lives as well. They have different things in their physical lives that show up because now their frequencies have changed. And so, whenever you have a frequency change, energetics come in differently. So, yeah, all kinds of things.
A lot that comes through. And
Yeah.
the shifts that you've been going through and you've experiencing in that from that 99% to 100,
Mhm.
has anything shifted in the way that you connect to the council and to the Christic energy and to the others that you have
Yeah.
been in a relationship with that you've translated for the benefit of those that you've been guiding?
Yeah, everything's changed in relationship to that because I'm fully embodied as my oversoul. I'm probably at, like I'm heading into the 24 strand DNA aspect of self. And that's not like, ooh, grandiose. It just means that I have a greater access and capacity. So yeah, I'm direct communication and one with the Christos founders, the Aurora Guardians, of course, my oversoul. I learned I'm actually the very first flame. So, and I didn't know that. So I'm literally the very first of the first emanation. So it's, you start to get to know who you are. And yeah, so it's a very vast field and there's a huge amounts of communication. So it's very, very different for me. So yeah, vast levels. And we're going to do a little bit of energetics here to be able to feel the
We'll do
field.
some energy. Yeah, we'll do some energetics before the end of the call for sure. That'd be great. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Do you experience that your community, as they go through your work, have new experiences of their guides as well?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And particularly like I'd say again, the sort of biggest thing that's shifted is that I'm fully sovereign. So what does that mean? It means that I am fully um as the 0 point. So I don't have edges. And so when people experience the energetic field that I'm representing, it is the purity of source consciousness. So when you engage in this field, and because everything is connected to me, so all of my courses, everything are shifting with that. They're alive. So they're moving those energetics. So that's what the experience is that's happening. There's this automatic movement that's taking place in everybody's field. It's just kind of what happens
Mhm. Amazing.
naturally.
Amazing what's coming through.
Yeah.
Oh, the special offer. Oh, 9 modules. 9 modules, $147, 2 payment offer, 30-day money back guarantee on everything on BTO. Um, and the energies and the consciousness that Kathleen is bringing through, and the way that it's shared as, I want to call it, as a structure to help guide back into the wholeness, back into the reclamation is quite beautiful. Y'all take advantage of it. Again, it's the link for the offers in the chat box. It's underneath the video where you're watching a call. And I highly, highly recommend this work. Yeah, soul fragmentation and the awareness, um, and knowing how to journey through those fields. That's where the work is truly at in so many ways. So again, y'all take advantage of it. And with that, Kathleen, first, thank you for preparing that for BTO. And with that, I'd like to dive into some more Q&A.
Sure.
So going back to the guide's question, this question came in from Drew. So thank you, Drew. Drew wants to know, do our guides participate to orchestrate the union of these fragments? How does the ego influence a higher self to allow wholeness? And when does one acknowledge that an integration has actually been completed? So 3 questions, but I think it can all flow together.
Well, I think we should, in that, talk about first about this idea of guide. So, it's always you, no matter what. So I think that's the most important. It's never not you. So even in this idea of what we think are guides and teachers and so on, they're very much aspects of you. They've either been timelines with you or or somewhat of your energetics. And I think that's important because I think when people project outside of themselves and think that there's something that in itself is going to keep you fragmented and limited, because it's a quantum field, it's whole. So that's the first thing that I encourage is that to start to recognize, wait a minute, it's me talking to me in a way. So, and am I listening? And what am I listening to? And who am I becoming? It's not outside of me because that's kind of the most important. And I think as we do that, that's when these fragmentation come in. And again, talk about fragmentation just a little bit deeper. Fragmentation, and you talk about the ego as well. So the ego is the image, and we need the ego, right? Because it's the part of ourselves that runs around in the human suit, right? And make sure we don't walk in front of a car and do whatever, right? But the idea, if we can think about just from this perspective, the idea of fragmentation that we're really desiring to help us come into a place of present moment is, can I observe myself? If I can become the witnessing observer of myself, then I am my oversoul, my higher self, observing this person that is walking around on the earth and observing this ego self. And as the observer, okay, so everything's just about matching frequencies. That's all we're doing in human existence is matching frequencies in order to be comfortable. So, and by universal law, faster moving frequencies always try to raise slower ones up. It's just how it works, right? And so if I am observing myself, I am vibrating as pure source, observing this body, this avatar that's not vibrating as pure source. So as I'm doing that, I'm going to start to irritate my body basically because if a faster moving frequency comes near a slower one, it basically starts to change it, starts to try to make it raise.
Mhm.
So as I'm doing that though in myself, if I start to notice, who am I? What am I doing? Who have I become? You know, that's when we start to notice those are the fragmentation. That's what the fragmentation is. It's me noticing that I've become a character in my life. Example might be, say you're, with your family or something and instead of you just automatically going into a conversation, going into a persona, you suddenly imagine that you're here and you start to notice yourself and you notice like, wow, as soon as that person came around me, I got tense. Or as soon as I walked in that room, I started to feel like I had to say something, or I started. And so this is when you start to notice these are what we're calling the fragmentation. Those are the aspects of like, why am I doing that? I'm now on automatic, you know. And so this is the energy. This is the key to, you know, communicating with the ego, knowing this idea of guides and all of that, because all of that's present in that one moment. Everything's present there. It's like my higher self, my guidance is there showing me, wait a minute, what are you doing? My ego
Mhm.
is there, the one doing it. And the fragmentation is showing itself by, I just did something. Why did I do that? So you see me, and so I'm just trying to bring it home. So it's not, we hear this terminology, we do all this stuff, but the reality is we're right here, and it's about having this
Mhm.
human journey, right? It's
Right.
really about having this human journey. And I think the most important, because what we've been taught is to reach outside of ourselves as though there's this hierarchical system, there's these guides, they're greater or less than. No, it's not that. It's just a level of frequency, it's a level
Mm.
of information, right? And
Right.
that's kind of what I experienced. That's been my personal. It's like, oh, and that's why I say it's kind of irony. So I see it this way that like we come in the world, we start out this way where we're whole, and then we become something because we're told what it means to be a man or a woman or this or that. So, and then you get to the point where I am, where you wake up, and the irony is you're right back where you started. And I say it's what I feel is so normal. I feel so like present, just like here I am, and we go, oh wow, this is what it's like to have this 12 strand on. Yeah, it's what it feels like. It's like, yeah, I'm just here and I'm just gonna have a life now and everything's cool.
Well, this reminds me of just the amazing book by Pablo Coelho, The Alchemist, where the
Yes,
treasure's always
exactly.
been there, but we
Exactly.
had to go out on the journey to become who we're going to become, so that
Exactly.
when we got back and discovered the treasure, we really knew what that treasure was. Right.
Yeah, and that because it's we complicate it. That's really what it is. It's like we
Mm.
are that simple. And when you are in this state that I happen to be in, you have access to everything and everyone and all things all at once because the quantum field is always there anyway. But you've now got out of your way, your own way, and so you're experiencing it all. And so that's where the alignment of the Christus, alignment of
Yeah.
all this and all these. And so during that, though, waking up to that is this idea if we don't separate ourselves, if we don't create hierarchical stuff like, oh, that's a superior being and they're going to teach me something, more like think about it more like they're a higher frequency than I am.
Yeah.
And if we allow that, then say, no, but I'm communicating, so I must have some level connected to that. How can I have that more in my wholeness? How can I become that? Like, what is that really representing to me? That's you restoring those soul fragments and
Mm.
communicating.
And the excitement of the awareness that we can restore those fragments,
Hmm.
the excitement that's like, wow, I've been playing this game rather than I'm stuck in victimization.
Yes, and it's
Right.
all right here.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the most incredible magic is that I don't have to go outside of me for anything. As a matter of fact, it's all right here. I've just been programmed to be something, to have my mind communicate to my heart instead of my heart communicate to my mind. I've been programmed to think I'm small. I've been programmed to think I'm separate, that I got to reach outside of myself for
Mhm.
something else. And so if I let go of all those programs and I say all of this guidance is aspects of me communicating to me to wake me up. Okay, cool.
Okay, nice. Right.
Nice.
Game
Let me
on.
listen.
Game on.
Let me
Amazing.
listen. All right, how cool is that? Exactly. Game on.
It's
Oh, that's a
it's
novel idea. How
it's
about
the
I
cool
listen?
kids you always want to hang out with. You get to hang out.
Exactly. It's
Amazing.
me.
Hey, let's go now to Heather. Heather, welcome to the call.
Hi, Heather.
Hi, thank you for
Hi.
taking my call. I'm
Mm,
grateful to be here.
Sure.
I I always enjoy all of these calls, and they always have um, wonderful messages that speak to me in one way, shape, or another. And
mm,
actually, before earlier today, before I did this call, you meant, when you mentioned the mask and this, like letting your voices talk and everything came up. I had like most of the stuff that came up was not nice. It was like, huh, you're not this, you're not that, you didn't do this, you don't have that. It was all the shoulds and the coulds and why didn't you? And it was just like, da 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 da. And I remember I got sad from it. So like I had a release of, I cried, and then I sat and I said, I listened to it and I let, come, and I said, "Oh, really?" I was like, "Oh, really?" I was like, "Is that so?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't really think so." So I kind of had like a conversation with it. I wasn't telling it, "No, go away," like, ugh, it just,
So what's your question, Heather?
like welcoming things. What would you, recommend to on a, how to welcome more of that type of relationship in your life, as opposed to trying to push it down?
Yeah.
Mm,
Well, I think you're doing it beautifully. I think
I was
exactly
going
what
to
you're
say the
just
same thing.
talking
Yeah.
about. Yeah, I think that's amazing, that and that's really the key is the recognizing, like going, wow, okay, I've got all these negative thoughts and I've got all this and am I gonna just perpetuate them and keep going into them, or am I gonna start loving her? And that's really it. That's how you do it. Self-love, deep dive, just deep
Mm,
dive. And we hear that, but what does that really mean? It's when we really do it, when we're addicted to torturing ourselves, to feeling bad. It feels good. We like to feel bad. It's familiar, and the whole misery loves company. We'll find others that feel bad and we hang out with them and we, and until you wake yourself up. And this is really what it is. It's about that waking yourself up and saying, hold on. What am I doing? I mean, I had to wake myself up in that. I had so many relationships and so many things that were like, what am I really doing?
mm,
Why do I feel I want this person? Or what am I striving for? This is me. This is my life. You begin to go, wait, I'm by myself. This is me. It's my life. What am I doing? And when you can realize that and you free yourself and you say, I don't care. I mean, I got to that point, this is kind of where I have my controversial moment. I say it's like the surrender is like suicide, but not like killing yourself, but like that level where you're like, I don't care. I really don't care. I'm like, want to be happy. And it seems so ridiculous when we really get there and we go, why am I doing? And when you start to realize, like, wow, man, why am I torturing myself? We go, wow, I used to like that. It felt
mm,
good, I guess. No, it doesn't feel good. It
mm,
doesn't mean that we aren't going to go through stuff that we need to feel, because the thing is, we have the surface level that's here, but we're all multidimensional and we've all had many, many lifetimes and we've all had lots and layers of participation in this inverted matrix. And so that's where, like, why shame is such an important course to take, because it goes deep into those multidimensional layers and levels that's in the body, and we're carrying those, and that's part of what takes place. So once we have that surface level, then we have that deeper that we can't touch. We don't know what it is, because we're like, okay, I feel like this, but why am I still carrying that? Well, the more that we can begin to just be with that, that's when we let go. That's when we can start to even recognize, which I'm sure people are doing, they don't know, but they'll even have visions of past lives or different things will come in and however it will integrate with them. It is integrating. It is a given. It's happening, but we're not
Mm,
allowing that. So sometimes you will have very deep rooted crying because it's for a collective, depending on your soul signature. Each soul has a mission, mine happens to be a very large field, so when I'm clearing things, I'm clearing for the collective and things, and I'm sure John is to lots of people, in yours as well. We are doing those types of things. We're doing much larger things, and so we're feeling those, and so it's like sticking with it, you know not
mhm,
just stopping and letting go and allowing. I still have moments. I had moments earlier I cried, and I'm like, but because
mhm,
I'm feeling, we're feeling deep levels of things and we're allowing that to continue without judgment, without needing to define it. Okay, we're just allowing it to continue to move through,
mhm.
and that's when that very peacefulness, it's like because we're organic and that's what we do. We feel. But we haven't been taught that. We've been taught to think. Forget feeling, think, be a machine, move on, get to it. But that's
Mm.
not who we are. Okay, so allow yourself and give yourself permission in that deep dive and that love. It gets
Beautiful.
here.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you so much, Kathleen.
Mhm.
Heather, one thing that came up for me, it's for a while that I was feeling very disconnected from myself. And so I'd sit in meditation to try to connect to something so that I can connect back to myself. And I kept reaching, trying to connect to something, and nothing, 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 nothing. It's like it wasn't coming through. No matter how much I meditated, how long, whatever practices I use, how much stillness, different music, whatever frequencies, it's like, and that night I was guided very strongly. Breathe yourself in. Don't reach out for something outside of you. Breathe yourself, be with yourself, and whatever was churning through my own field, through my own universe, started bringing in the stability that I was trying to find outside of myself as a way to re-identify and to ground and to feel safe or creative or whatever it was that was missing. But when I started getting into that practice of breathing in my own, I even created a bubble around me just to create a container in the beginning of that. But then it was just like, it was from everywhere. And that shifted so much. And that's truly a sovereign space to really, to create an environment for all of you to come back into that wholeness, um, to really recognize ourselves as the full technology that we're looking for.
Yeah.
What were you say, Cathleenna?
Well, I was going to say that what was coming in with that is that, often when we're seeking some type of connectedness and so on, we're seeking it through the mind. And the physical brain just does not have the capacity to understand and to get the information the way that we're seeking it. And
Mm,
so we need to recognize that the information is going to come full body, full in, like, that the proof that we're okay or that all of this is not it won't happen in the physical mind in the way that the mind works, the
mm,
human mind works. So that's why it's important for us to communicate to the mind and say, okay, you got to chill out because I'm going to feel it. And when we feel it, we know it because it's through the heart. It's very different. That's when I'm like, oh, I'm present. But if my mind is trying to feel it, it doesn't happen.
mm,
So, and that's important because when we start to notice that, we're like, oh my gosh, my mind is like, so it's like, it's just, I love you. I love my mind. It's beautiful, but I'm going to just feel and I'm going to teach my mind what feelings are. I'm going to let go. Okay. It gets easier.
nice, nice.
Yeah.
Heather, thank you for bringing this up.
Yeah.
Both very much.
Yeah, you're
Appreciate it.
doing great. Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
All right, y'all. The special offer of Cathleenna. It's again, the links in the chat box. If you're watching the call, the replay on YouTube, the link is also found in the comments section so that you do not have to miss restoring the original soul fragmentation and releasing the imprints of shame from the brain and body. Again, 9 modules, 9-week activation series to align with your soul's essence. And it is powerful. And I invite everyone on the call to drop in on that and really take what's available to you to a whole nother level. So again, you know where to find the links now. And Cathleenna, would you be open to guiding us through
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
frequency alignments, I'll call it?
Yeah, we'll do what an activation that wants to come through. Just before that, I see one question here that says, asked if my do you feel your new work is far more effective now, or does your past work upgrade? And I would say all the work upgrades in the sense that because it is me and it's energetic, so everything is alive. So just to let that know that everything is uplifting. So and it's a continual in terms of the energetic field.
Beautiful.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, let's move into an energetic here. I'm going to change the sound so you get all the nuances.
And I'm going to give you the screen, turn my audio off, so y'all are going to get all Cathleenna. So
Yeah.
here we go.
All right, so everybody just want to close your eyes and take some nice deep breaths. And I'm just going to move into the energetic field here. Tasumiro kumpodro kosimera katata iro popatametro kuisameti ate iro kusititas kitrum badra kosametra kashgato. Asimetro kata yoto simeto kumpalaka satiteron patriko shatas. Irakotina matruko simetre kanta papare patia sikitina mokom. Asayoto shimira ko eta yeto kemete yesirakas. Sito di mata como sikatash. Iso kimerete otometa kasiatos. Take some deep breaths. Sikini ite iromokometas. Isometro matrikata sumeto. Let's continue taking deep breaths. I'm just going to begin to move some energetics from your heart space up through your throat and into the opening up the channel of your pineal to further expand your connection to Prime Creator and to your oversoul. I'm going to expand now, so I'm opening up that channel. So now I'm going to open up your third eye a bit wider for you. I'm feeling for this particular group, there is some trepidation within your third eye and your communication, your sense of worthiness. And none of this is done to you. This is all in agreement with your oversoul. Take some deep breaths. And now with the permission from your oversoul and your agreement, and if you decide, just say yes internally or with yourself, I'm going to take off a cap that I see that's on your third eye. We're going to open this up much wider. So I'm going to dissolve some energetics that are blocking the pineal and the energetic field. That's good. Taking a deep breath. I'm going to begin to open this. And again, this is all in your free will. If you don't want your field opened, if you don't trust it, you don't have to. This is nothing done to you. That's great. I'm just opening this up. It's an opportunity. That's great. And I'm just going to open this up a little bit wider and and so I'm going to open up this communication to your oversoul, and I'm going to encourage you to begin to ask, like, your deepest inquiry. What is the, if you could have one thing that you're just really wanting to know in your life, in yourself, just begin to ask that question. In this now moment, as I'm opening this field wider, it's safe to be me, it's safe to be free, it's safe to let go. Take some deep breaths. I'm just going to open this field. Now you may have a lot of emotions that start to come forward, because this is a very deep communication with your oversoul. It's safe. I feel many of you are resisting. There's like this holding, like you're scared to let go because you don't really know what this field. This is just pure prime creator. I'm just opening up the field to pure prime creator, but it's a sealed field so that no lower entities or energies can enter into this field. It's not possible. This is only pure prime creator, the highest realms, and that is in the highest and best for your soul and your soul's agreement. There we go. So we're just going to allow yourself to receive a gift. This is a gift from your oversoul. It's a direct communication. And we're just going to drop this in to your, it's really dropping it into the, like, crown and into the pineal and into the physical brain. We're going to integrate this. I'm integrating also a very high frequency blue field of Divine Father, a certain element, aspect of Divine Father. This is just going to create a bit in the physical brain of a sense of comfort, different from Divine Mother. This is more of a sort of stability in the physical brain. I'm letting this integrate within the neurotransmitters in the brain. Take a deep breath. And this is just will help you have a different level of presence. Okay, I'm going to bring around you now a golden diamond light, and this is a Christos founder's frequency that is, it's a high level frequency that is, it's not protecting you, but it's creating like a field around you. So as you continue to let go into this activation, you will integrate this at a much deeper level. So I'm just bringing it around so that you feel a sense of lightness outside of you, because I was doing a lot inside of you. There you go. That's good. And so we'll just let that integrate a bit more, taking a deep breath. Great. I'm just going to open up the portals in your feet, allowing you to root into the organic core of Gaia. And with that, I'm just going to integrate the elements, earth, fire, air, water, ether, and the diamond blue plasmic flame, the sixth element to all aspects of self, mental, physical, spiritual, etheric. Calibrating, integrating the quantum level of the carbon DNA to the crystalline DNA, to the original human genome, the original human blueprint, the I am presence, the organic template. There we go. So we're just integrating this. So we're just basically upgrading you. So we're just giving you like an upgrade in your energetic field. There we go. And so we're just going to also connect you into your soul star, into the soul star, which is the central sun, so that you're connected in both as above as below, as below as above. That's great. There we go. Perfect. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Just take some deep breaths, and it's going to integrate this into this present moment. Okay, beautiful. But this integration is going to continue for the next 3 days. So I'm going to encourage you to pay attention to your dreams, do some journaling, and yeah, this is an upgrade for your energetic field. Okay.
Wow, Kathleen, I got lost in that one. Not lost. I went into just such a still space, truly.
Yeah.
You rephrased that properly.
Yeah, and that's it is an upgrade. So, and now there's an integration so that that golden diamond light is going to stay. It's a high Christos founder's frequency that's going to help integrate. So you can integrate this for the next 3 days. So
beautiful. I love what Fallon wrote, turbulence to stillness. And Laura, I saw a lot of things and felt my feet start tingling. Karen, so powerful, major yawning and eyes watering. Thank you so much. So yeah, y'all come back and allow it to integrate. In the special offer, there's more of these type of transmissions as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
So there's a
Well,
lot of
they're
it
a little
there.
bit different from this, but yes.
Wow, wow, so powerful. Kathleen, this has been amazing and so informative and holding such a standard.
Yeah.
Such a standard for really the purity of love that we really are here to embody and experience. And how wonderful is that? Thank you so much for what you're doing.
Thank you, John. And you as well.
Thank you, my honor. And thank you all for being on the call with us, for contributing your love and your upliftment for all of us.
Yeah,
for all of us to benefit from. I bow to each and every one of you. Namaste. And I look forward to seeing y'all in the next call.